Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Awakening Beauty contemplation. As always, before we start, I would like to invite you to grab one of your favorite drinks, tea or coffee or a glass of water, and join me for this contemplation about what happens when we go beyond small talk. What happens when we dare to lead with big and bold questions, big talk? Well, if you know me, you might have realized that I like everything deep. And this has always been the story of my life. I never liked small talk. What do we mean by small talk? Those quick questions about how is the weather? What do you do? How is your day? We feel like, especially if you meet with a stranger, it might be quite awkward to go deep immediately, right? Because you don't have an established trust. So we lead with these small talk questions. But what if there's a different way? What if we lead with the depth of our curiosity? What if we really want to know and understand the other person? What kind of questions might we ask? So, for example, instead of asking, what do you do? Just to get an answer about their job, why not to ask where they find their passion in life? What makes them excited about what they do? Instead of just simply asking people where they live, maybe going one step deeper, asking them what they find interesting about that particular place that they live in. And the purpose here, the intention here, is to get to know the other person, get to know their values, get to know their essence more. Who is that person behind the mask that they seem to carry? At least that has been always my intention and my curiosity. I always wanted to get to know the person behind the scenes, behind the titles, behind the nationality, behind the gender. Like, who are you? And big questions really helped me to unpack the complexity we sometimes create as humanity within the cultural context. And recently, when I was reading a book, communication book, I read an interesting study that revealed the fact that there is actually quite a lot of research supporting the gifts of big talk, big and bold questions that helps us to go beyond the concept of small talk. This particular study is led by the Behavioral Science Unit at the University of Chicago Booth School of Science, and they conducted 12 experiments with more than 1,800 people in total. And they realized that although people assume that it would be quite awkward to lead with big questions, in the end, they realized that it was not that awkward, and it led into actually deeper insights. Here is from the summary. Participants who discussed deep questions overestimated how awkward the conversation would be significantly more than those who discussed shallow questions. Deep conversations were also more enjoyable and led to a stronger sense of connection. So when the researchers realized this, of course, they naturally started asking, well, if this is not more awkward, and if it's really helping us to go into deeper conversations that's more enjoyable for both parties, why don't we lead with that as humanity? And when they dig deeper, they realize that we sometimes have wrong assumptions. Most of the participants assume that the other person would not be interested in hearing more about their story. They wouldn't be interested in getting to know who that person is. So here's more insight. So in one experiment, they told the participants to imagine that they would be speak to a particular caring and interested person, or to a particularly uncaring and uninterested one. Participants who expected to be speaking to the caring person choose to discuss deeper questions than participants who expected to speak to an uncaring person. You see, our assumptions really create so much of the outcomes we get. What if we assume that we are speaking to a caring person? What if we share more? And the same research in another experiment reveals the fact that once you share more, that turns out to be an invitation for the other person, and the other person mirrors it back. So the other person shares a deeper insight about them too. And this is why I love conversations. Once again, conversations means turning together. I share something deep, and that invites you to share something deep as well. And we go deeper, And through the reflections in the mirrors of our perceptions, we collectively grow. We know ourselves more. And we go deeper, and deeper. And on the other side of the same insight or research, what if we are the ones letting the other people know that we are interested, hearing their stories? As research shares, it can also invite others to be more open, to answer big questions. Well, this research really inspired me and made me feel less awkward in terms of my tendencies to lead with big and bold questions. So I would like to use this as an invitation for you to reflect about the power of big questions and maybe lead with them more in your life. Whenever you meet someone new next time, why don't you give it a chance? Why don't you lead with a deep question? And why don't you also, in your vibration essence, reveal your curiosity to the other person, letting them feel welcomed, letting them feel that you are interested in their response. Maybe through these type of deeper conversations and contemplations, we can feel our humanity more, and we can welcome our diversity and the diverse life experiences, perspectives we each bring into the space, into this world. And this is what makes it beautiful. As always, thank you for joining me. As always, thank you for awakening the beauty in you first and creating more of it externally in the world. Till next time, remember your beauty.